It was actually a TED talk that I heard that was going over, we may have to go into separate diabetic management for every single patient because, and I'm so sorry, but I forget the gentleman's name, but he was doing research on the, putting a CGM, a continuous glucose monitor on 20 or 40 people, his study was, and he could show a different glycemic load on exactly the same amount of the same food for different people. So what that did for me was made me say, this is not good. My job is going to get so much harder if I have to fine tune everybody's diabetic medications based on their CGM. And that sounds like a cop-out, but it didn't make sense to me. And I thought there has to be something better. What is going on? So then I started looking into the actual recommendations. I've read a couple books. I looked into Dr. Jason Fung's Diabetes Code and Dr. Berenstein's Type 1 Diabetes Management book, which has been around for decades. I mean, that guy's, nearly 100 years old himself, and he's Type 1 diabetic, right? So I started looking at these people who were having success. And, well, why am I not having success? And it turned out that it was mostly the nutritional recommendations that I was making or that I was sending my patient. They were getting to a diabetic educator and they were getting those recommendations. And it turns out that they were being told eating carbohydrates at a high amount was still okay, despite their type 1 or type 2 diabetes. And I mean, if you really look into the research and the success rates, that can't happen. And there's a reason for it. Okay. And then quickly I began to see that glucose is not the only problem. It is toxic in high amounts to cells, and we need to maintain that homeostatic level. If we don't consider that insulin is half of the problem, we are not addressing it well enough. And that goes for both type 1s and type 2s. Of course, the type 1s don't make insulin anymore. The type 2s do. So it does change the management, but it doesn't change the nutritional recommendations. And so once I saw that and began to consider, well, if we do the right nutrition, it doesn't have to be everyone grab a CGM, figure out what, whether a cup of ice cream makes your sugar 250 and the next guy's sugar only 140. Like, that doesn't matter anymore. If we just get back to the basics of a low carbohydrate nutrition plan is probably best for almost every human being, especially for a type 2 diabetic and I would say a type 1 as well. Okay. So I got into that mode. I was able to start using it in my patients who are type 2 diabetics, see some massive results, some actual reversal of their A1Cs, and then ability to discontinue or decrease their meds.